So, back to our verse here. The great king of trees now stands tall, yet certainly it will one day age and dry. The Lord of death shall certainly take us too. And if we are not prepared with knowledge, we shall no doubt know terror and regret. So, we talked a little bit before about, preparing for death and the importance of apologizing to the people we need to apologize to and forgive the people we need to forgive, and do that on a daily basis and not just think, well, I'll do it before I die, because death can happen quickly and unexpectedly, and we may not have time, or we may not be in the proper mental state. So it's important to swallow our pride and not swallow our pride sounds bad. It's important to counteract that pride, not just swallow it, just counteract it, because it's a hindrance for doing what is beneficial for ourselves and for others. And so to be able to forgive and apologize and not hold on to grudges, not hold on to vengeance, not nurture resentment, because there's no sense, if we don't want to die with that kind of mind, why live with that kind of mind? So better to counteract it right away. Also, to prepare for death, I think on a practical level, it's very important to make a living will and to make a general will too. So a living will is where we say what we would like to happen to us if we were severely injured or incapacitated. And so this is a kindness to our friends and family, to whoever is going to be around if we're quite ill or injured, so that they don't have to make the decisions, they don't have to quarrel about what to do, but we have made our wishes clear, and it's, our doctors know our wishes, our family knows them, or our friends, We did this here at the Abbey a few years back, and I'm thinking we need to do it again this year, because there's different people, and to review everything. And so we say what we want to happen to us or not want to happen to us. Also, as spiritual practitioners, I think we should state like what prayers and practices we would like done, before we die and after we die. And for example, if you have daily practice commitments, to list those out so that, if we're in a coma or, too weak to kind of do our practices ourselves, that a Dharmic friend can sit in the room and read the text for us and do the practice together with us, so that we keep our daily commitments. I was very impressed. Venerable Jampa Sedran was telling me the story of Geshe Thupten Nawang, or is it Nawang Thupten? Thupten Nawang. I always get it confused. And I guess he was so ill at the end of his life, but he had some of the younger monks come and do all his practices in the room with him when he was so ill and couldn't do them himself before he died. Because he really took this thing about doing your daily commitments very seriously, no matter what is going on in your life, even you're in the process of dying. And so to let people know what those are and have them written out so that they can do those. And then I think it's also important to make a general will, so that, again, people will know what to do with our stuff. As monastics, we should not have a lot of stuff. If we do, get rid of it now. And I think even if you're not a monastic, it's better to clean up everything right now. First of all, because when we give things away, we create merit, and the merit is much more valuable to us than hoarding things we never use. Second of all, it's an act of compassion for others that really benefits them when we give our things away. Yeah? And then we feel good about having them. And third of all, think of how embarrassed you're going to be if your friends or relatives have to go through all your stuff and see what you've been hoarding. You know? Think of it. We usually don't think of this. The reason I started thinking about it is because some years ago, a friend of mine discovered that she was the executor of a neighbor's estate. She hadn't known this before the neighbor died. And she went in there, and there were so many boxes of papers and all sorts of things. She didn't know where anything was. She had to go through boxes of personal correspondence, to find the will, to find out what are the bank accounts. Do you want people to read all your old personal correspondence? And we save sometimes these letters that are precious to us. Are you ever going to really read them again? I mean, we don't want to throw them away because they have such sentimental value, but are you ever going to look at them again? And do you want other people reading them after you're not there? Your high school love letters, whatever it is that we keep sometimes. Yeah? So it's very important to have all of our affairs in order. Actually, the New York Times just this last Sunday had two very helpful articles, actually. One was about having the talk with our parents, about what their wishes are and, do they have a regular will and so on. Or do they want to put things in a trust? In other words, making things really easy for the survivors. And second of all, there was an article about letting other people know what your passwords are, because so much is online now that, there used to be, you would receive statements from banks and so on if somebody died, and they would know about your estate and how to get things. But now it's done online. You could die, nobody knows that you have accounts. And you don't give anybody the password to your computer or to any of your accounts, and then it becomes impossible for them to access that. Or they have to get a court order to access it, which takes months and months and months, And so meanwhile, your relative could be dying and you need the money to help them have good medical care, but you can't access it because they've never given a power of attorney or made a joint account or told you their passwords. Okay? So, all this kind of preparation is very important to, not only for ourselves, but it's an act of kindness to the other people who will be looking after us. And then also it helps our mind, because then when we're close to death or when we're dying, we don't have to think about all these things. It's not, it's not on our mind. And I think I told you the story, but I didn't tell it while they were filming. One woman I knew when I was in India, her father had fled in 1959, fled Tibet. And when he was coming over, he had some gold, I don't think Tibet had banks in that time. So he had some gold. He buried it somewhere to hide it, probably because, I don't know for sure, but he might have been one of these road workers, building Indian roads. A lot of Tibetans did that, and they couldn't have anything valuable around in their tents. So he hid it. Anyway, when he was dying, what he's trying to do is tell his daughter where to find the gold. And I heard that, and it just broke my heart. I mean, can you imagine dying and you don't have peace in your mind just to let go? And you're busy thinking about, well, how do I describe, the tree and the this and the that so she can go and find the gold? And so that's in that context, but it's the same thing of, well, how am I going to tell my kids what the passwords are, where the will is, or, when you're in the process of dying, and you really need to concentrate on calming your mind and taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, and, you don't need to to be bothered by all these external things that you're leaving behind. So it's very important to take care of them now while we're alive. Yeah. And then when we're dying, forget it, because we can't take them with us. So even if we changed our mind after we made a will, just forget it. Let people have it. It doesn't matter. You know?